This video is for those of us who hold bicultural or multicultural identities, however that may look like. In some ways, sometimes that can apply to so many of us because we have different parts of us, but specifically in that, and how, if there is a part of you, a part of your bicultural or multicultural identity that you are rejecting or judging, even in subtle ways. Sometimes we are not consciously aware that there is a part of our identity or cultural identity that we don't like or we reject, either because of our own judgment or internalized judgment, or because of what we receive from the society we live on, that there's a part of our cultural and identity that is not okay. How this can actually in subtle ways sabotage your choices in your careers and in your life at large. And I'm going to share with you a concrete example of a client that I work with today to illustrate the point. I'm Isabelle Perichou. I'm a transformational leadership and career coach. I work specifically with leaders and high achieving professionals who really want to do the work they're here to do in the world, or be the leader they're here to do, and make a difference with their unique gifts and talents, and often need to up-level something in their life and their careers to be able to do that, or move away from a career that is not fulfilling, for example, to do that. Let me share with you a little bit the session I had with the client today, while keeping, of course, is the confidentiality and the privacy about it, because I think that can really illuminate for you if you are listening, especially if you hold bicultural or multicultural identities in any ways. Or I think it can actually be helpful for any of you listening if you have part of yourself, of your identity, of part of who you are, that you are subtly rejecting or judging, and how that can have a negative effect, whether you know it or not, on your career and your confidence, on your career choices, and stepping into the full expression of your leadership and your purpose in the world and in your work in particular. So today I had a session with one of my clients who is Indian American. He was actually born in India but moved in the US while he was 10. This is a case of many Indian Americans or other people holding different several identities as well in the US or in other countries. And I've been working with him for about 2 years or something like that, and really helping him move away from work that is not fulfilling for him, to stepping, clarifying what is really work that is truly in alignment with his gift and his soul and makes him come alive. And he has done such a good work on that level. We have really made really good headways on that. And we are now refining the process and also peeling off the layers. A lot of my work involves often peeling off the layers of conditioning that are not who you really are, and that's stopping you from expressing yourself in your work in a way that is meaningful. Often, the work, I think, to really step more into your purpose or your leadership, it's not so much to add something, it's more to remove all the layers of programming, of conditioning, of shoulds, that are stopping you from being the free, beautiful expression of who you are here to do in the world. Because I really think we already come with everything we need to shine. And it's all about not only that, but removing some of the layers we take on of programming and conditioning. And so we worked on that, and now we are just stepping more into that, and we are doing the refinement work. And today in particular, that was interesting because the session took an interesting turn that I was not really expecting. And we, I've noticed over the times working with this client that there was a undercurrent of sometimes lack of confidence. That is often the case for the people I work with and for all of us, of, you know, some kind of lack of confidence of fully stepping into who he is and making the choice that are good for him. And we work on that in many different angles. But today we actually, as we were talking, and we touch on something that is directly linked to his bicultural identity, or being Indian American, and especially arriving in the US when he was 10 years old, and being raised with parents who are fully Indian in their culture, and arriving in a country that has a different culture, and being just at the intersection, being specifically at the intersection of that, and the kind of internal kind of struggle and conflict inside of him that came about as a result of it. And I want to say, as I'm sharing that, I'm feeling very, very touched by that. Thinking again about that internal conflict, especially as a young age, and in being that generation, and also as a way to belong and to fit in a new culture, having an unconscious way of, there are things in my other culture that maybe are not welcome here. So to belong, to be part of, to be accepted, and consciously starting judging or rejecting or dismissing or just some aspect of the other culture. And in particular, the Indian culture, that, all of that definitely played a role in that. And then we ended up, kind of supporting him in that process of, and realizing how much that kind of inner conflict that was born around his own identity and who he is, and accepting one and rejecting another, and having a hard time, to belong, and never feeling you belong, because when you, feeling like, oh, maybe the Indian culture, there is aspect of it that just don't work for me. But when I'm in American culture, I don't fully relate because I cannot fully be myself. There are aspects that are not okay to bring. So never feeling like you belong anywhere. And as a result, having a hard time fully embracing your bicultural identity. So what is powerful is that and this is what came, and I trust often in my session with my clients, I tend to really trust what is alive in the moment, even if sometimes it doesn't sound related to the work we are doing around work, around career, but trusting that if it's coming up, there is a reason for it, and it's coming up for healing and transformation, and it's actually going to help us get where we want to be. And I think this is really important when you work with a coach. And I'm also saying that for you, if you are listening and you are a coach or healer, to trust that, especially I would say people who are working as a leadership or career coach, because often there is this idea, oh, we need to go to the goal. This is not helping us, so we shouldn't talk about it. No, it's just surrendering to the process, trusting that if it's coming up, it's part of the process. And I love doing my work in a holistic way where all the parts of us are welcome. And if it's, the more we integrate all the part of ourselves, the more we can actually step more fully into our leadership and our career and our purpose, and be more successful by bringing all of us into it. So I, kind of surrender to the process and feeling like this was alive by talking to him about that. And then we end up doing the full session on the topic of that, and helping him kind of reclaim that identity so that he can fully step, own all of this part of him, with accepting what works for him in the Indian culture, what works for him in the American culture, and creating his own kind of blend of ways and an identity, and reclaiming that so that he can step more fully into his power and his confidence. So we end up doing that in the session, and without going into details about how I do this work. There are all kind of ways I do this work, but there is something that I mentioned in the past that is particularly powerful that I call shadow work, where So don't worry when I share the shadow work, people are like, what is that shadow work? We're gonna touch into something dark in me. No, it's actually reclaim. I should call it differently. It's like reclaiming work. Like we all have part of ourselves that we have what we call disowned. That meaning they are in the shadow. We're rejecting them, judging them for all kind of reason because of a childhood, of a how we were raised, because of cultural influences, and because this part have been disowned in us, we have rejected us, we have rejected them. They are showing up in our work, in our life, in kind of sideways. So they are creating. They are sabotaging what we want, because the parts that are not claimed, that we are not claiming, we are judging unconsciously, they're still showing up, but instead of showing up cleanly, like confidence is gonna show up like clean, they're gonna show up in a way that is either over emphasized, that so it's why you see sometimes people who are overconfident, or they can also show up like underconfident or like wobbly. And when this is happening is often because there is a part of us that has been disowned. For example, your confidence, your identity, and because it has been disowned, it's not fully mature in your system. So it's coming up in ways that are not effective and productive. So we use this process, and I use this process quite a lot with my clients these days. It's extremely transformative and powerful to help you in all kind of ways with, be more confident, or any part of yourself that you have a hard time accessing, like for example, let's say confidence, or setting boundaries, or you have a hard time being direct in your work, or you have a hard time maybe with compassion, or you have whatever you have a hard time with, it's often because this part has been disowned. So when we do the work of reclaiming this part, you can access it more easily, and you can be more effective at it. And it has ripple effect in your whole career and your leadership. I help people who are leaders or aspiring leaders who, as a result, get the promotion that they are wanting because they are fully stepping up into their full power in a just very authentic way, without overdoing it, but bringing all of themselves in it. Anyway, with him, we did that work with the shadow work about his disowned identity and self-identity and bicultural identity, and to transform that. And it was just beautiful. It just was very beautiful and moving to witness the process. It's just one of the reasons I just love my work so much, to be able to facilitate this kind of reclamation process for my clients, that not only helps in terms of his career and but also in his whole life, because it's going to have ripple effect in his personal life, in his relationship with his parents, with all his, and other also Indian American, because as a result of claiming more his own Indian American identity, is going to be more accepting about other Indian Americans and their own bicultural identity, and people who hold other multicultural identity. The more it's a beauty, the more you do the work on yourself, the more you are becoming an agent of love, acceptance, and peace for the rest of the world. This is just a lot of it start with ourselves. And so it was a joy to do that with him, and knowing that as a result, he's going to step more into the next level, is confidence in his work, in his career, being even more assured about his own choices in terms of his career, his life, that may be different than both his, parents, and also different than the society, the traditional American society or the traditional Indian society, but merely true to him. So that's why the work is so important to do. And something I really want to emphasize, because sometimes we dismiss that kind of work, especially if you do work on your careers. People think, what the point of this? Like, it's just, you are doing psychotherapy, you're not doing career coaching. No, that's not true. If you are getting stuck in terms of your expansion of your leadership, of your career, it's not just something to do outside. There might be something inside of reclaiming part of yourself that you have rejected, and that actually stopping you and sabotaging you unconsciously in getting what you truly want, because all the parts that you have disowned, they are, showing up and sabotaging what you want. So it's why this work is so critical and so important. Whether you are someone who hold a bicultural or multicultural identity, or anyone, I would say, because all the part of you, we often have part of ourselves we have disowned, and I have many with all of my clients and myself included. So let me see what I want to share with you. I think that's kind of the bulk of it for today. And let me know, I would love to hear if you have any, especially if something in what I said just speak to you about that, if there is something that resonate and in yourself. I would love to hear that. Or if you have a question as well on it, or if you need any kind of support on this topic and you are curious, I would love to hear from you as well. So feel free to drop a note in the comment, or if you want to email me or DM me privately as well. Don't hesitate to do that. This is really part of my life's work, to help you and everybody just shine in your full leadership and career potential by accepting and owning all the part of yourself. This is good for you. This is good for the people in your life. And ultimately, this is good for the world.